Megamind, right? It's the guy, it's the man, it's the myth, it's the legend. Absolute Chad. He has it all. Uh, the drip, the brain, the monkey minion. But at what cost? By the way, I'm not really worried about spoilers. This movie's over 10 years old now. I really think you should have seen it by now. I'm quite disappointed if you haven't. So, we see several times throughout the film that Megamind is quite tormented by fate and those around him. It's quite disappointing. But the audience laughs at this cruel hand he was dealt, like it's a joke. Today, I am here to prove to you that Megamind is a hero, but his story is quite the tragedy. Now, of course, you're probably wondering, how can you be so sure? And to that, my friends, I have the answer. Now, this may be a children's movie, so you're probably wondering, how could you come to this conclusion? Well, let's start from the beginning. Now, Megamind's family uh, is in pieces when he's born. In fact, they're ripped to shreds by a black hole, along with his entire race, as you can see here. His only guiding voice from this point is kind of pathetic, but it's a fish who got shoved into an orb and is pretty useless. Then, this asshole Metro Man uh, shows up, and his only chance of a comfortable life is taken from him. And from then on, he's forced to live in prison among criminals until he's turned villainous by this cruel fate. Now, he does get a break for a while. He even gets some time to make his nightmare goldfish some of his own drip. But then it's right back to the same thing, as you can probably guess. Soon, he realized he was bald, which causes him to have a crisis. And then he realized he was always bald. I mean, he is pretty smart. Even he would realize that. But then he realized he was blue. And this brings me to the hardest part to explain. This Danganronpa phase. Actually, now I think about it, he didn't really change too much there. Thankfully, he got out of it. But he's already been tricked hundreds of times, down on his luck, and even lost his one girl when she finds out about his blueness. Now, this brings him to alcohol to cope, which thankfully he is indeed able to metabolize, being the Chad he is. But he's still broken, and he even tries to making a new nemesis in the form of Titan after beating Metro Man. But he eventually turns evil himself, Titan, and he forces Megamind to nearly get himself killed to stop him. Even beating Titan, he still lives in Metro Man's shadow. And the townspeople are still suspicious of him. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have done this, but of Megamind for being blue. Even worse, he's forced into the position of Metro Man soon after his second step down from power, and now has to pay taxes as he obeys the law, and he's a law-abiding citizen, being the Chad he is. And he's still haunted by his past. Yeah. He still remembers this day. Now, he eventually has to live in an apartment building as his friend Minion is gone now. And it's quite a sad day for him when this happens, and he gets back to his Danganronpa phase, which is quite sad, but he still has his script, which is quite sad. He becomes so low on money, he can no longer afford to live in his apartment building, and he has to move to an even smaller one. And from here we get to the saddest part of the story. He begins working a minimum wage job as a grocer, as he's fired from his position of Metro Man, when the police chief sadly realizes that he was bald and could not possibly fit the role. The only person who remembers him is Metro Man, who, like Megamind, is stuck in his own dead-end job, but he's still quite horrible. Years later, he's tired of his never-ending cycle of his job, so he sneaks into his old lair desperate to relive his glory days. And he rediscovers something while he's there, an invention he created years ago that made him the talk of his entire class, although he was still in prison, so there weren't many people that were quite impressed. And it even indeed landed him some extra time in the prison. It was a rope attached to a single quarter. Now, this just let him get a few free drinks from a vending machine, and that might seem small. However, with the unending determination he quickly realized he could take more than just single drinks for a laugh or a chuckle to be humorous. Soon, he cleaned out every vending machine in town and opened his own secret carbonated beverage. And he lived quite happily, but it was on the black market. Now, this somehow brought in so much revenue that he was able to move back into his old lair. It was quite stable, in fact. People are quite hungry in looking for these carbonated beverages on the black market, unlike what you might think. Now, however, Megamind forgot to pay his taxes, and soon after, he was sent back to prison, where to this day he is tormented by Titan once again, who was placed in the same cell due to a lack of space in the building. You can only hope that he may someday be freed from his shackles of debt, and that he may come home and receive the glory he deserves. Now that has been said and done, you're probably wondering, why did you spend so much time, effort explaining this tragedy when you started YouTube less than a month ago? Well, my friend, it started as a joke, but as I learned the truth of Megamind, I started realizing that DreamWorks has tricked you all. Now, I don't think you understand. They've been hiding this for the past 11 years, and I've been trying to tell everybody what they've been doing, and it's quite horrible and disgusting, and we have to expose them, but it's also part of the quality content that I have and will continue to provide you on this channel. And subscribe to see more of it. No. I don't think you understand here. You don't have a choice. Do it. Do it now. Do it before I decide, in my infinite wisdom, to make more quality discussions about timeless masterpieces. Alright, well, thank you for watching. Goodbye. Thank you for 3 subscribers.